2025, and welcome to the 6th webinar of this series. This spotlight webinar is entitled Score a $15,000 Grant, Inspiring Stories from WEF's Member Association Grant Program Recipients. I'm Peter Garvey. I'm chair of WEF's House of Delegates work group charged with planning and hosting a series of webinars intended to highlight WEF's member associations. I'm here with our work group co-chair, James Hawthorne, communications liaison, Sarah Ward, and Kelsey Hurst of WEF staff. So we're looking forward to a presentation by Doug Pike, who will talk about the general aspects of the program. And then we will have representatives from Pennsylvania and Alabama who will share their stories of their journey through the grant program, how they were applied for the funding, and what they've done since they received the award. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. 5 things, I guess. Please go on mute unless you're speaking. Please do not use AI recording apps or devices or tools. We definitely welcome your questions. We'll take them all at the end after the 3 segments. Please feel free to add them to the chat during the webinar, and we will gather them all together and pose them to the presenters towards the end. And be mindful, we are now recording this session. Thank you, Kelsey. And the link to that will be made available on WEF's YouTube channel probably about a week from now. So excited to get into this. It's always good to hear about grant programs and some of the ideas and innovations that member associations are using that funding for. And certainly appreciate WEF's continued involvement and participation in this program to share funds back out with the member associations. So we'll start with Doug Pike, and Doug is the operations manager for the Unity Township Municipal Authority. He's in his 9th year as a delegate to the Water Environment Federation from Pennsylvania. Doug is chairman of the House of Delegates Budget Committee, and today he's going to give us a brief interview, sorry, not an interview, an overview of WEF's Member Association Grant Program. So with that, Doug, please share some really interesting details about this great program. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Kelsey's going to run the slides for me. So we're going to do a little bit about the Budget Committee in general, and then we're going to kind of focus on the MA grant program and what's available there. And then again, as Peter said, we have 2 success stories that MAs are going to share with us. So, okay, Kelsey, let's move on here. All right, so the Budget Committee is charged with reviewing WEF budget to assure alignment with the strategic plan. We also administer the MA grant program. That's a big chunk of what the committee does. And then I bring this up because, you know, nominations and applications for HOD members is coming up. But the chair and the vice chair then also participate in the WEF Finance Committee, the Audit Committee, and the Steering Committee. And then the Budget Committee is allowed to, you know, branch out on some other projects. Our goal this year is to go back through the history of the grant program and put together a 1-page synopsis, I guess, of all the grant winners, how much money was given out, how much money was you know, shared in kind, that kind of stuff, and a little bit about the success of the individual programs so that we can keep a running history going forward then of the grant programs. Next slide, please. All right, here is just a list of our committee members. You'll see there's 6 people from the HOD, and then we have the speaker-elect, and some WEF employees involved with the committee on a regular basis, and the WEF treasurer as well. Okay, next slide. So the MA grant program started out as a pilot project. It was very successful. MAs, you know, kind of asked for it to be a continuing program, and it has become a standing program with WEF. So it's built into the budget each year, and for the foreseeable future here, anyhow, I think it will remain as a project or as a budget item moving forward. So what we do is break it down into 2 cycles a year. There's 2 opportunities to apply for grants. The first round closed in January. We typically try to, if need be, split that 125,000 into 2. We're not required to, but we want to try to at least save some for the second round. So that's typically how we look at that. So again, the first round has closed. It ended in January. I'll talk about the recipients here in a minute. More importantly, I think for today is the second round applications are available now, and they are due June 5th. So it's time to get on those if you're interested. And keep in mind that we did not give out half of that money. There's still a little over 90,000 available for this second round. So we really encourage you to think about a grant application and put one together. So what is supported for the grant program? You can MA operations, some seed money for new initiatives, strategic planning, training, and even expanding your MA's participation at a WEF Max or a WEF Tech. Really what we're looking for is that the word expansion there is important. If you've always sent your president and your vice president to a WEF Max, we're not looking to just fund that for you, but we're hoping that you would, branch out, send 3 or 4 people instead of typically sending 2, that kind of stuff. Anything that can be shared by other MAs would be popular if you can put together a program that other MAs can share and take advantage of so that more people are getting a little bit of the end result. That would be a great way to put together an application as well. Okay, so the next slide. Just a reminder, this is WEF's strategic plan and our core values. That's available throughout WEF's websites. If you need that, you know where to go. But again, the grants, we want those to fall in line with the strategic plan and goals and values of the association. Hey, Kelsey. So round 1 this year, we had 5 applicants, a total request of $34,730.
It's going to open up so much opportunity for.
All 5 applicants were awarded funding. They all had applications that met the criteria. So the ideas were like a video production that was going to help with, I think, recruitment and membership, public affairs campaigns, conference attendance, 2 MAs, that should be a capital A there, 2 MAs, and then a cohort program. Again, they were all good ideas and all were worthy of funding. So all 5 were able to be funded. Next slide. So again, some more tips for a successful application. Make sure that it aligns with WEF's strategic plan. Details, when you're answering the questions, it's hard for the committee to separate, which one's better than the other if you don't give some detail. So the more information you can provide about how you're going to do the project, how it's going to benefit your membership, other MAs, the public in general, the easier it is for us to rank you a little bit higher. So give us as much information as you can. There are points on the scoring system for a matching contribution. So dollar for dollar gets you the highest ranking on that particular line item. But we also would consider some contribution in kind. If you can show where you're putting a significant amount of manpower into a project, we would try to weigh that into the calculation as well. Because we do understand that some MAs, maybe are struggling and can't put that money in as a match, but so show us how you're going to make up the difference there. And then again, something new, not something that's already in your budget, is really what we're looking for. We're not, it's not a grant to just subsidize your current budget, but you're going out in a new idea, expanding in some way. And then remember that the MAs are ranked in size, small, medium, and large. I don't know those exact numbers. I think it's 500 members, 1,000 members, and then maybe 2,000 members. But so if you are considered a small or medium MA, you do get some bonus points there, trying to offset what typically, a larger MA has a little bit more financial advantage there. So we try to offset that a little bit with some bonus points for the small and medium MAs. The next slide. All right, so we do have some expectations if you are a grant recipient. Obviously, we want you to carry out the project the way you proposed it. You'll be required to send in some reports. We want to see that you did put that matching funds in as you promised. And again, there are some reporting requirements. So we want you to follow through and report on a regular basis, how the projects are going, and then provide those success stories. And then, like we're going to do today, we'd like to hear about those success stories. So be prepared to step up for future presentations and share a little bit about how your MA was successful, whether it's on one of these spotlights or at a WEF Max meeting or some other event that we may do. Right, next slide. I think that might be it. That's it.
Okay.
So thank you. Yeah, back to you, Peter. You can introduce our first speaker then.
Yeah, thanks so much, Doug. That's a great summary. Interesting to know there's still over $90,000 left in the kitty at this point. So lots to play for in the final round, right? So you heard it here first. So great, thank you for that. Okay, so we've had a brief summary and introduction to the program. Now we're going to hear from two grant recipients from recent years. So we'll start off with Pennsylvania, and David Brown is going to present on behalf of PWEA. Brief bio on Dave. He was employed by the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority, also known as ALCOSAN, from 1985 until 2023, where he served as the manager of wastewater education, conducting all process control and certification training for operations personnel. He's been an active member of PWEA since 1996, and he was president from 20 to 21. And he's also an adjunct professor at the Community College of Beaver County, instructing their wastewater operators certificate program. So David, looking forward to hearing the story of Pennsylvania's award and what the outcomes were.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, so I'm Dave Brown, as Peter introduced. I'm going to talk a little bit about our training program and how we helped get funding for those training programs. Next slide, please. So the two grants that we applied for, the operator training grant in 2019, we'll talk a little bit about that. And as Doug already mentioned, we matched the funds for that. And then in 2022, we did a grant for emerging leaders, and there was a 30% matching grant there. PWEA applied for the two grants, and both of them were training. Next slide, please. So PWEA made the decision to seek the seed grant for training. The request was $15,000, as it was on the other slide. Our focus was on operator education. PWEA wanted to be competitive with training programs offered by the PA Rural Water Association so that our members saw value in our course offerings and membership. Rural Water offers their members 6-hour courses at fees $95 to $195. They have they have funding, other sources that we don't have. So we look to get some funding through WEF. Next slide, please. So the operator training grant we were looking at, providing an increased number of training and community education opportunities as part of PWEA's strategic plan. This initiative supported WEF's strategic goal to provide a wide range of professional contact and programming. This initiative would support WEF's strategic goal to provide a wide range of professional contact and programming. Providing additional classroom training assists us in continued financial viability, and financial viability allows PWEA to continue to support training by providing the seed money to kick off the new training program. Next slide, please. So operator training. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So PWEA proposed the use of grant funds to develop a training program using the Water Environment Federation newly published Wastewater Treatment Fundamentals 1, the liquid treatment. PWEA's grant application outlined how it would use the content of WEF's book to develop the courses. The courses would be tailored would be subject to chapters outlined in the book, developing the courses of 3 to 6 hours in duration. The grant money was requested to support the cost related to the development and execution of both online and classroom training courses, such as Pennsylvania's Department of Environmental Resources, Environmental Protection, course approval application, DEP reporting and roster fees, computer software, facility rental costs, and other miscellaneous related expenses. The courses were to be offered to the entry-level wastewater professionals, as well as a refresher course for continuing education purposes. The grant money would assist in the developing of the courses and getting members and non-members interested in the curriculum. We plan to develop the courses first using an online format and later adapt the course to a classroom style. Students who study for the state's licensing exams have better outcomes. The proposed training course would offer the operator curriculum to ensure passing score on the state licensing exam and count towards experience requirements in the certification process. Currently, certified operators who take our courses can use them as approved continuing education credits. Next slide, please. So, what did we do? We went hybrid. Once PWEA obtained the grant, we used the WEF book and the course material, or the material for the course. Operator training credit was obtained through PADEP, and the actual course development and implementation was left to the training program. And I have to give lots of credit to the training program. There was a lot of effort put into that. So next slide, please. Target audiences. So first, those in the group make up the workforce development, that's the largest number of students. Then operator certification exam, that's generally 3 to 4 people per class. And the people there for continuing education, that's the least interest. There aren't too many people that want to take this course for continuing education, right? There are easier courses to do. Next slide, please. And we decided to go virtual. Why? Because Pennsylvania is a big state. There's big populations in the corner, but not much in the northern tier of the state. So we try and get them out, get training for them. The instructors don't have to give up most of their day each week to teach. Fits into their work schedule easier. The hard costs, it reduced the cost of textbooks, software subscription, instructor fees, and overhead, administrative overhead. So there's some benefits going virtual, especially cutting down the travel. I don't want to have to drive 2 hours, attend training, drive 2 hours home. It gets a long day. Next slide, please. So the hybrid course was developed. It's a virtual class with an instructor. You get live help via email anytime during the course. There are homework assignments and there is readings. Written homework has to be submitted, and there is a final written chapter exam. Yes. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, course structure was set up. So there is a weekly 2-hour live webinar session. The students are assigned a 2-hour weekly reading assignment, weekly test your knowledge, written chapter exams, and then the course lasts no more than 2 months, 5 to 8 weeks, depending on, you'll see as the course breaks down, you'll see that some modules are a lot longer. Next slide, please. So here's the breakdown. We took the book, put chapters 1 and 2 together to make a course, and then next one chapters or course 2 is chapter 3 and 4, and the course 3 was fundamentals and treatment parts. Next slide, please. Continuing on, you see now we're getting into the activated sludge secondary treatment.
On Zoom, hold on, turn this down.
So
Shit, I hope I'm
number
Please go on mute if you're not speaking. Thank you.
Okay. You see course, we had fixed films, activated sludge. There are 2 of them there. Nutrient removal. Go ahead, Kelsey, just keep going through the rest of those. And the last one was disinfection. So that's how we broke up the manual, volume 1. So what did we learn? Class size, about 15 is a good size. Let's see, what can you use? Different ones, Zoom, any meeting. There are different types of software out there. You got to have the right webinar software. You need a moderator to help handle everything else besides the instructor. The instructors have to know the software. The instructors have to practice the software. They have to practice the software. And again, having a moderator there helps the instructor keep everything moving, and the moderator takes care of the more technical stuff, the computers, issues, things like that. Okay, next slide. So this is our second grant we applied for, was the leadership grant. Oh, I didn't go over, sorry. Okay, yeah, we went over everything. They have to practice. The leadership grant set up to train the new leaders, right? We want to bring in the YPs. We want them to become the leaders. We want to give them training. The grant was used to pay for that. And we offered PWEA membership, and we set up some modules in different learning formats over a 2-year period. So we'll talk a little bit more about the leadership grant. Next slide, please. So in module 1, you see we broke it down into some basics there. Strengths, emotional intelligence, WEF integrated leadership webcast. We included that. And then in number 2, human resources, we brought in a facilitator. We talked about that. And then an attorney on labor laws. Next slide, please. See, in module 3, we talked about DE&I. Module 4, we talked about privatization, which is big nowadays, right? So we had somebody specialized, an attorney who specializes that come in, and we also made it part of our annual technical conference. Next slide, please. So in module 5, we talked human communication skills. Again, we brought Dr. Murphy in and did a presentation for the day's training. That was 2004. Next slide, please. So what did we learn there? The grant training allowed PWEA to hire experts in the subject matter, right? We were able to get attorneys pro bono. Delays in approving the WEF online training from DEP required changes in the format for approval, which took over a year. We're still trying to work out some issues with registration and credit approval. Delays due to the lack of volunteer help. Like everything, having volunteers, having several volunteers help out a lot, because the good ones get overloaded and then they get burned out and then they leave. So next slide, please. So that's what we learned in our grants. Thank you for listening. I'll turn it back to Peter. Any questions?
Well, we'll take questions at the end, but
Yep.
please put your questions in the chat. Thank you, Dave, for sharing that journey and those two different uses of WEF's MA grant program funding. So very interesting and informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, and there you have the information with the matches and things like that. So yeah, very helpful. Thank you. Okay, I think we're doing well on time. It's just about 1:30 now. So we'll move on to our team from Alabama. Well, I think it's Tina Shakespeare-Auden is representing Alabama Water Environment Association to talk about their story. So Tina, quick bio on Tina. She works for Hazen and Sawyer in Birmingham, Alabama. She's very involved in the Alabama Member Association, AWEA, and she also serves on their board as a WEF delegate. So Tina, if you are there and ready to roll, it's all yours.
Sure. Thanks, Peter. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our grant experience. A couple years ago, I went to WEF Max and I learned about the MA grant, and it was really helpful. I forgot who was giving the presentation, but it was really helpful to learn what the committee was looking for in the grant application. And so I came back and I was thinking what we could submit for, and I was really involved in restarting our student chapter and YP chapter at that time. This was probably 4 years ago, and they essentially died after COVID. And so we were working really hard, going on campuses to rebuild these programs. And I thought that if we could get a grant to send students and YPs to WEF Tech, then that would just pour gasoline on the fire. So, and WEF Tech this was in New Orleans, so it's 4.5, 5 hours driving from us. So in FY 2022, I put in a match or a grant ask of about $7,000 and then a WEA match to take YPs and students to WEF Tech. And it was great. We got the grant, which was fabulous. And because of the grant, we had a lot of universities like provide money, and then some of the YPs employers like provided some funding. So we got to take 3 or 4 YPs and over 10 students to WEF Tech. And it was so fun. Here's a picture of us with the WEF Tech sign. And it was so great to have that many people from Alabama and to have them get exposed and dropped into WEF at WEF Tech. And so this really did help rejuvenate our programs, our YP and our student programs. And usually, students and YPs don't get to go to WEF Tech. So this was a great way to use that money. And then, so we decided when WEF Tech came back around to, we also like the 22 year, our student chapter 1, student chapter year. So they got to come with money, and then a couple of students got inflow. So we just had different funding sources, and it was just really good to have such a big group. And so then when it rolled around again to come back to New Orleans, I submitted another grant application for around $5,000 with a $2,500 WEA match. And I got it again. And so we took a group of students. This time I focused on students and an operator. So we took an operator, and I think it was 6 or 7 students to WEF Tech. and it was, again, so good. The operator had never heard of WEF Tech, and she's actually a woman operator, which is very rare, especially in Alabama. And so she had so much fun, and learned so much, and is getting involved in our organization. And it just kept the momentum going for everything. And we just had our section conference last week, and I just got the numbers just to tell you guys how much these grants helped in conjunction of the work we were doing with YP and students. Is we have over 80 YP and student members. Our total membership is 547 in Alabama, and over 80 YP and student members. So I think that's like, 12-13% of our membership is YP and student. And then we had, because we didn't necessarily use grant money to bring students to our section conference, but this grant money helped get students involved so that they can, continue to get involved and come to section conference. And we had 91 students come to our section conference last week. So, yeah, so that is not a lot of information, because, the grant was just to take people to the conference, but I wanted to use it to have momentum instead of just taking people to the conference and then that be it. So it was really fabulous. And Kelsey, if you want to flip through the slides, there's pictures of us at conference, and yeah, so they had a lot of fun on the exhibit floor. We had a dinner. Yeah, they were going to all the events. They came to like the different service events, and then different consultant events. They came to our Hazen event. So it was really fun for them, especially students. And then we are big on swag. We didn't use the grant money for swag, but we love to give students and YPs nice quality swag, and they love it. And so they all had that. And then, yeah, and then there should be one more slide. There's a little video. This was actually from last week. And so these are students at our section conference with their professors. We give away scholarships. And again, it's really helped, the grant helped initiate all this for our section. So yeah, that's all I had.
Thank you, Tina. Great to see a wide variety of uses and ideas associated with applications for the grant program. So thank you so much for that. And great to see the YPs and operators involved in a whole variety of folks in our industry getting involved. So that's great to see, and great outcome of the grant program. Okay, great. Well, we have a little time for questions. I'm sure there are questions for either Doug on the general program aspect, and or Dave and Tina on their particular experiences through the grant life cycle. So do we have any in the chat, or are we taking any questions live?
We do have a couple in the chat, Peter.
Okay, go ahead.
The first question was, is the grant funding available to MAs outside the U.S.? And it appears someone also answered that question in the chat, but Kelsey, I guess, can you confirm that answer is correct?
Yeah, that answer is correct. Thank you, Chris, for chiming in on that. So yes, any MA of WEF can apply for grant funding, and we have supported and provided funding to several Canadian MAs, so and Mexico as well. So yes, absolutely. Any MA, please consider submitting for the funding.
Just on that point, what other out of non-US MAs does Canadian, Mexican, New Zealand, are there others? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, so we have them all listed on the website. I would say some of them are more active than others, but we have there are a good many outside of the US. There's 45 North American MAs, 75 total MAs. So that means 30 of them floating out there that are not within North America.
Sure. Okay, great. Thanks, Kelsey. Go ahead, James. Any others?
Is there a direct link to the application or grant website? And that was provided by Rebecca as well. Those links.
Yes, they're making it easy. Whoever's throwing the answers in there for me.
So yeah, thank you, Rebecca, for providing those links. And those are all the questions in the chat. Peter, if you want to open the floor for
Yeah, I mean,
anyone
we'll
that
take.
has questions.
Thank you, James. We'll take questions live for Doug, Dave, and or Tina. If I'm not hearing any immediately, I'll get the ball rolling from maybe for each of you. Any best practices or lessons learned in terms of what a good application looks like, or maybe that's more for Doug, but interested in responses from all three of you.
Yeah, so I'll start off, Peter. So again, we have a scoring matrix that we go through where we just kind of assign points. So I think I touched on it earlier. The more detail, the more information you can provide when you're answering the questions on the application, I think the easier it is to distinguish your application from somebody else's. We look at the budget. Well, if it just says we're going to spend the money, over the next 6 months versus some more detail, it just gets ranked a little higher by being able to see how everything is going to be done, the detail that gives you the confidence that the project's going to go through, and that kind of helps us. Again, matching funds and or in-kind labor, so to speak, helps. And yeah, and a good idea. Again, the more, in my mind in particular, because everybody judges a little bit different, but we really want to see, the expansion of what your MA is doing. It needs to be something new, whether it's a new program in-house.
Again, not just business
the
as
idea
usual.
Of reaching out, getting, like Tina did, taking a new group to a WEF Max or to a WEF Tech event, that kind of stuff where you're expanding what your association is doing is really what we're looking to do. And then again, if you can do something, if it's a program, a training event that other MAs could, you can share with another MA, they can take that prepackaged program and use it. So then, from a WEF standpoint, 2 MAs are benefiting from the same funding. So if it's a project that we can share with others, that helps as well.
Thank you, Doug. I think we have a question from Mike Welke.
Yeah, I was really interested in the PWEA's grant that they have done for operator training, basically. We are trying to, we're in the thralls of that now in Ohio. And what kind of success rate have you seen on like for the operator end of them passing the certification?
I wasn't involved with the instructor at the end of the course, so I don't know the passing rate just after this course.
So
I couldn't give you that, but
Mike, I can tell you that the operations manager here took the course, did a little bit of other studying, but that was her main source of training, and she passed the exam.
Very good. I know the one we're trying to develop is more to try to get more of our base operators to pass the test and move from the 1 to 2. We're just getting into more of the advanced, which would be the 2 and the 3 courses. We just branched it out to the 4 corners of our state, but we're doing in person. I kind of liked how you guys were setting up that virtual, and trying to get that accreditation for the, for the virtual means with the same instructor, and keeping the group small enough that one instructor can kind of tame the cats on the screen, so to speak, to get the point across. Ours was intent for, we're doing a matrix. We did a pilot program where the cost was very minimal to them, but we asked that they answered a fairly extensive questionnaire at the end, and also gave us what their score was. They had to take a test and try to pass. what did they score? So we knew if there was any success to it on that end, on our first matrix when we did it last year. This year's the first year we opened it up to all 4 corners of the state, and it's ongoing currently that we should hopefully know something later on. But I was very curious because that may be something that, as we want to keep growing that program, a future grant that we'd be trying to apply for.
Yeah, I think one of our biggest obstacle was getting approval through DEP. They want you got to prove that you're on the computer, check in every 15 minutes or half hour, so it was a pain developing that. And the instructor was really dedicated to getting it done. And now he's retired and gone. And we mentioned about volunteers, getting somebody new to do it is tough. But once it was up and running, I think everybody who used it liked it.
And it was ambitious for 2 hours on basically a virtual call. It is tough to keep.
It was.
Yeah. So Mike, I can tell you that we did cycle through some instructors. It wasn't the same instructor for all of those courses. Again, it was just, I think, sharing the load a little bit. But we were required to have a moderator and an instructor. Yeah. Online, that kind of thing. It's probably similar everywhere. You had to have your cameras on, all that kind of stuff, so that you could prove you were still there paying attention. But
yeah, I'm not sure if we were hitting some of those walls like you mentioned with the EPA in our neck of the woods for approval. That course, that may be why we haven't gone virtual. We've done other things virtually that has been granted through the EPA. There's a monthly webinar that we do that we get granted for it, but they have to be active on the screen and answer polling questions of like 4 different questions throughout the hour that we're trying to get for the session.
Yeah.
So very interesting. I might reach out to you, Dave, to get more information, because I think we're calling ours the Water Training Academy, for lack of a better, but very interested in it.
Okay.
Well, that's exactly the goal of what we're trying to achieve here with these member association spotlights. So if you folks connect, then we're achieving part of our purpose here. So that's great.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or what other questions?
Yeah, I was just going to say with the grants, getting the YPs in, anything you can do to get the YPs in, because that leads to just what we're talking about, workforce development, all that stuff that we need. So grants to send a YP to WEF, or, bring in a new young vice president or something. I always encourage that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
And the other thing, WEF sees you got skin in the game, that matching. If I got skin in the game, okay, I guess they're serious about it. Maybe we'll approve it.
Speaking of skin in the game, how does the funding flow? Is it a reimbursement program? Is it installments? Who can speak to that? Or you get the award, you get the money up front, and then spend it down?
How did the students get the money, Doug? Do you remember?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know how the students got the money, but the MAs.
Yeah, the MAs.
The MAs get the money up front. You just get it.
How I did it, which was a little bit intensive, is RMA got the money, and then I had to create not rules, but educate the students of what they can reimburse, what they can't.
Yeah.
So if anyone needs, I just kind of came up with it, but if anyone needs guidance on that, and then they submit receipts to me, and then our MA reimburse them. So
policies and procedures things.
Yeah, but it was tough, deciding, some rules. I didn't want them to just go, expense like a hand grenade.
Give them $100 a day, or did you have to 25 for breakfast, 25 for lunch, 25 for dinner?
No, I gave them a rough budget, and then kept receipts, and so
Okay.
it was a lot of work, but
Well, thank you for doing that.
It's worth it.
Yeah. Another question comes up to my mind about the reporting requirements then, because I know you need to, you report back to the budget committee. So Tina and Dave, how is that onerous? Is it just a brief report? Do you have to present on it in terms of the how you spent the money and the return on investment, as it were?
Good, Tina.
Actually, like I need to get with Kelsey because we haven't been the best on our report, but I do present on this stuff a lot. Yeah, and I think the report has changed since I did it in FY22. So yeah.
And that's a good point, Kelsey. Maybe the budget committee probably should pay a little bit more attention to that. We kind of count on WEF staff to just track that and maybe give us a heads up if somebody isn't following through with the project, but wouldn't be a bad idea to actually track that at our monthly meetings.
Mhm.
Yeah, for PWEA, our treasurer would get together with the executive director, I believe, and submit the reports to WEF. Christine, I think, handled that for that project, maybe, or at least one of them.
Yeah, I don't think it's a ton of work to put those. I don't want to scare anybody away with the idea that you have to send in reports on what happened. It really is a pretty brief report. It's just kind of a status of where the project is.
All right. What other questions do we have? We got 10 more minutes if needed. James, Sarah, were there any other questions in the chat or that others had?
Yeah. So Mike, I'll throw out a comment while people are maybe thinking about questions. You know, when we kind of jumped on that new manual that WEF had put together, they go, you know, a lot of us know the Sacramento manuals, right?
The old people,
you know, and even though they're on version 14 now or whatever they are, they still seem old to most of us. So we kind of like the idea, and I think it probably helped with our grant application, the idea that we're going to be buying books from WEF part of the grant money. So it kind of cycled back around, but we looked at it as an opportunity to help WEF get that manual out into the hands of a lot of members.
Is that circular water economy? They give us money, we buy their books, it goes round and round.
Yeah, I know we
on
used
the strategic plan back then, though. But yeah,
all of our courses so far were based off of the WEF manuals.
That was one problem we had with our DEP. Because it was a WEF manual, it didn't cover state regulations, and there are state regulations on the certification exam. So we had to adjust for that. That was a big part of the DEP's issue too.
So at Pennsylvania, you guys are still doing your own test? Because I know like a lot of us, we used to have an Ohio version of a written test you would go and take. Now they're doing ABC.
And we're not doing AB.
Yeah, so
we went the opposite
that
route.
makes sense that there'd be the regulation.
Yeah. And I've been involved with all of that, Mike. If you went on a side note, if you ever want to track me down, I can give you the whole history of how and why Pennsylvania is doing what they're doing.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just
well, I'm just saying I'm not either. It's just different.
I have various opinions on both sides of that fence. Some of the issues I have with ABC. And some of the issues I had with our certification unit in Ohio with EPA. So, yeah, we're working well together now. They're the ones that we had them as part of our committee. We had offered it to our certification lead through EPA to be on this committee to help us develop this course, so that he already had buy-in on it. So that helped us with getting OEPA approval for doing the course.
Okay, great. A couple of more minutes. I guess maybe Doug, could you share some other examples of what have been successful application types, the other types of activities maybe that were funded recently, just to give folks an idea of what else might be eligible?
I don't know if I can or not.
Oh, from previous years, no? Or-
Well, so I don't have the list of previous
Oh, okay, that's
years.
fine, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So again, kind of falling in line with their strategic plan, anything that helps boost membership, again, encourages participation, training for members. One of the questions on it, you know, is like, we try to get to how many people is it going to affect, right? So if you're doing a training event that's going to benefit 100 members a year, compared to maybe sending, you know, 2 people to WEF Tech, if it came down to judging between those two, I think the training that benefited 100 people a year, you know, seems like a better opportunity, a better way to spend that money.
Sure, okay, all right.
But, you know, we are at a spot, I don't know where the application process stands right now, but we've got a lot of money. So the important step is to put an application in.
Yes.
You know,
So-
had you applied in the first round, you would have got a grant.
Yeah, so there's what, about $90,000 left for the second
So
round?
90,000 left. We
Right,
have
and-
limited, you know, it's limited to $15,000
Per MA.
per MA per year,
Okay,
right? So each MA can only apply once a year, but you can apply multiple times, but once a year. And again, there is now a limit of 15,000 just to help make sure we're
and that
spreading the money around.
second and final round applications are due in end of business on the 5th June?
June 5th.
Okay,
Actually,
Oh, did it change?
I have it posted as June 6th because that's a Friday.
That's
So
fine.
so I have it posted just in case people are looking at, I have it posted as June 6th which is a Friday. And then you have until midnight Eastern time if you're going to be burning the midnight oil that day.
earlier is
All
probably
right.
better, right?
Earlier is
Yeah.
better, although, you know, human tendency, but earlier is better.
About that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I'm not seeing any more questions. We'll put a final pause for questions here. Not seeing any hands raised. Thank you to our presenters, Doug, Dave, and Tina. This is a great program from WEF. Encourage other MAs to participate in this second phase where there's $90,000 still available. So thank you all. Yeah, look forward to seeing you next time around.
All right,
And watch
great.
out for we'll share the YouTube recording link with you as soon as it becomes available, probably in about a week's time.
All
Great.
right.
Thanks for your
Tina.
participation.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you,
Have
everyone.
a
Thanks,
great
everybody.
day.
Thank you, everyone.
Aye.